Aloha and welcome to Spirit Chat Radio. Today I'm going to be talking about CBD and the effects it has on your spiritual senses. I'm also going to be talking about like some other things like alcohol, herbs, medication, stuff like that, because I do get this question a lot. And the CBD right now is super trendy, super popular. I think with good reason, but I also wanted to talk to you about my experience with CBD because I was sort of shocked at some stuff just around this industry. So that being said, let's go ahead and just get right to it. Anyways, CBD has become very popular and very trending, and I think it is very popular with good reason. It has some amazing qualities to it that can be very, very helpful for a lot of people, and you don't have the side effects to it that other things tend to have. That being said, me and my family, we had a recent experience with CBD that I really wanted to share with you because I think it's extremely important because I was sort of shocked. So anyways, I've taken CBD for a little while. I didn't set out to start taking it because it just, I don't like to do a lot of things. I'm not a big drinker for a lot of reasons that we're going to talk about in this podcast. I don't like things that alter me in any way. I don't like feeling altered. And because I'm extremely sensitive, when you get into altering type stuff, you really open the door to some really low vibration things going on. And I'm so aware of my physical body, my spiritual body, that I'm very protective about opening any energetic door to allow really creepy, weird, low vibration things to be coming into my space. I'm very protective of that, and I don't take that lightly. But I had an issue with a sciatic nerve. Probably, I don't know. It was maybe a year ago, maybe less than a year ago. And I have never, well, I don't want to say never. The amount of pain that I was in was absolutely unbelievable. I mean, it was so unbelievable. I still cannot, looking back, cannot believe how much pain I was in. I could barely walk. And what I attribute that to also is just sitting too much during this particular time frame of when I was working. I wasn't moving enough, even though I work out all the time, or several times a week. For whatever reason, I was sitting for too long a periods of time. And once it started to swell around that nerve or whatever, it was just hard to get the inflammation down. So I was having an extremely hard time sleeping, as well as getting in and out of bed, moving, walking, whatever, because it was so painful. And so I tried CBD for it because I was trying to get the inflammation down, and I didn't want to, do any other types of medication or whatever. I wanted to do something that felt cleaner to me. And so I tried it, and I was shocked at how much it helped me, along with some other physical therapy type of exercises that I ended up doing with it. It helped with the inflammation. But what shocked me the most with the CBD was how well it helped me sleep. And for those who have been listening to the podcast, or for those of you who are sensitive, because all my family members who are sensitive definitely have the same type of sleeping problems, we are very alert and very aware of spiritual energy in the spiritual realm when we drift off to sleep. We're very, very aware of it. And because we are so tuned in, even more so tuned in during that part of the day, nighttime, it causes a problem for us sleeping. It's a different type of active energy for me and my family and the people who are sensitive around me. We become even spiritually active. We have spiritually active energy. So during the day when you're kind of physically active, it just turns the opposite for us. And since we're so tuned in, it makes it very difficult to sleep or get good sleep. I don't get very good sleep usually. So, and I also sleep very short hours. But the CBD, I noticed, didn't make me feel groggy, didn't seem to cause me any issues with waking up. I still had all my spiritual senses working quite well. But what it did do, I truthfully, I'm not even sure what it did do on like a whole like medical type level. All I know is I still felt very spiritually connected. I was still able to wake up and do all the things I need to do. I was still having all the spiritual experiences as far as dreaming and stuff goes. But I felt a lot more rested, and it definitely showed on my sleep app. Like I have sleep app evidence, and it is crazy the difference. Now, that being said, it's not something that I personally would take every day. I don't take it every day because again, I'm weird about that sort of thing, and I don't like to feel like I'm relying on something all the time, unless it's like vitamins. I do take my vitamins every day. But so I would do a routine where during the week I wouldn't take it, but like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that would be my 3 days I would take it. And I feel, for me personally, like it kind of builds up in your system anyways. And then it kind of leads into the next week. And so I didn't get as good a sleep during the week. But anyways, that's what I like to do. That was my routine. Now, comes for the part that I would like you guys to all be aware of, or you, if this is something that you're ever interested in, or as far as just taking stuff in general. What happened is we had taken the same brand, which I'm not going to name because I don't think I should, for a really long time. It seemed to be a few of my family members had tried different kinds. They seemed to like this particular brand, so that was the one that we kept ordering. Then all of a sudden, we got a new bottle of them, and when we did, it was an entirely different experience. It was horrible. The CBD was causing, every time, if you would take it at night, which is what we would take it. We don't usually take it during the day for anything. I know people take it for anxiety and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, during the night, it was causing some very strange things to be happening. We have two different kinds of milligrams. One was a 15 and one was a 25. And my son noticed it first. He's like, something's not right with this. It is and he's very sensitive. He's like, I'm anxious. I'm having all these weird dreams, which we were talking about. He knew that they were like low vibration, weird spirits. He knew he had opened a corridor to some really low vibration spirits, which is what happens when you take certain types of things, which we're going to get to. And he's like, no, there's definitely something wrong with this. And the funny thing is, and this is probably not funny, but I had been having an intuitive hit, but I didn't look into it very much intuitively because it was just kind of a passing coming and going. And this is kind of how intuition works sometimes. I had a passing coming and going in my mind every time I'd receive a new order that this wasn't made here or something. They said it was being made here in the US, but it wasn't. I just knew psychically that they were bringing something in from this product. They were either making it or bringing something in from another country or whatever. It wasn't in the US. And I got this intuitive hit every time that I would get the mail or get the CBD, and it was a brushing one. And for those of you who use your intuition, I knew it was information I needed to have. Didn't really know why I would need it at the time, but it's something I take a mental note of. If I get those types of intuitive hits and I know that it's not really meant for me to dig into at the moment, because even if I would have, I wouldn't have discovered anything that I'm getting into. So it wouldn't have helped me to look into it further earlier on, but I made a mental note and put it in the back of my head. And then when he told me that, I was like, oh, this is weird. Okay, definitely recalling this information. Now, he seemed to think that 1 milligrams was okay and the other ones were not. And so since he had said the other ones seemed like they were probably better, those were I take the lower dose one, and that's what I was taking. And then all of a sudden, I had not taken them at this point. I started noticing the same stuff. And I had thought, okay, was this a fluke? Was this not what is happening here? So I had taken them for two or 3 days, and we threw them in the garbage. It was, I definitely, there was a spiritual corridor that opened that I was like, okay, these are horrible. I mean, there was definitely low vibration spirits and that definite connection that was coming around. And I knew what it was immediately, because that's one of the reasons I don't love to drink alcohol. And one of the things that I don't like about, taking anything that is synthetic or anything like that, or like man-made, is personally, and also when I'm reading somebody, I definitely notice that it leaves these weird cracks in your energetic system that allows a flood of really low vibration stuff to come in. It's like they get very attracted to you if you're altered in any way. And it's like they kind of are being sneaky because they feel like they know that you're altered, and at that state they can sneak in and more under the radar. Because when you're a little bit altered, let's say you're drinking a few drinks or you're drunk or whatever, when you get in that state, you tend to let your energetic guard down. You tend to let your mental guard down, your spiritual guard down. You're more susceptible to receiving your other information. You're not so like, well, why would I get this? And wait a minute, I feel like I need to put some protection up. You're more laid back. You're more chill. You're just more like, yeah, whatever. And you're more open. So you basically open a corridor. You crack your energetic field when you take synthetic type of medications. I've even noticed it with people, unfortunately, who take blood pressure medications and stuff. Not that you don't get off your blood pressure medication. I'm just saying that if a medication is not resonating with you, sometimes that can be happen, and hopefully you can talk to your doctor about adjusting medications. But I really notice it with depression type medications and things like that. When I'm reading somebody, I can feel that they definitely are very cracked, very open with their spiritual senses. They're very unguarded. There's a very unguarded opening to them that low vibrations are attracted to, because they can feel all low vibrations seek out a lower vibration. And when you have that crack and opening, you are giving out basically a beacon signal saying, I've lowered my vibration. I've altered my energetic system. Therefore, my vibration is lowered. So, hey, here's a crack for you. So when you alter it, with medications or alcohol or anything like that, your vibration becomes lower and you become a beacon. And you become a beacon for low vibrations that want to get in. And how that works is they basically tend to be kind of wreaking havoc in your life. So they tend to be wreaking havoc by, giving you a lot of fears, a lot of anxieties, a lot of worry, painting really creepy, nightmarish pictures, if you're dreaming, that sort of thing. Just really wanting to feed off that low vibration and be like, oh yeah, let's just keep this rolling. So I'm going to add to it. I'm going to add fuel to the fire as far as your low vibration is concerned. And so it starts to spiritually affect you and sometimes mentally affect you, because you start feeling, the low vibration energy, and it starts affecting how you physically feel. And so I knew immediately when I had taken that there was something not right. And when I started looking into it, because herbs and CBD, and you can have this happen, like I said, mostly I see it with synthetic stuff and or alcohol, but you can have it happen with herbs, and you can have it happen with stuff like CBD. It's not regulated, but truthfully, I think that's just really something that you shouldn't. It doesn't really matter if things are regulated or not. You should more go by how you feel, because the stuff that I'm talking about that I know for a fact does it, that's all regulated. So anyways, I knew immediately something wasn't right, and I started researching it, because for some reason, I don't know why, it never seemed to be something I looked into very far, which is unusual. I just sort of trusted the industry as a whole. Seemed very natural, seemed like, very natural. Everything was all good. But what I didn't realize when I looked into it, and I have a friend that works in Colorado in this industry completely. And when I started researching it and I started talking to her, one of the things that you really, really have to be careful of is how they process it. How they extract, the extraction process of how they get CBD oils or any of that stuff that you buy that's CBD related, how the extraction process, they can use different solutions, or I can't remember what it's called. Different solutions to extract the CBD. And she told me it is a super, super complicated process. And she said, so you definitely want to know the source of where you're getting anything from. She said a lot of places who actually even say that they're manufactured in the U.S., they get their hemp from China. And she says that is a red flag. You really want to, be aware of that. That's something I feel as I looked into it more. They're not going to tell us. They're not going to tell anybody if they're getting their hemp from China and manufacturing it here. But that's when it hit me that I am almost positive that was happening with this particular company, because then all my intuitive hits just dominoed together. Like, oh, yep, that's why you kept thinking it was from China. That literally, I thought it was from China. I don't think I mentioned that before, but that was one of the intuitive hits I had. And then it just kept snowballing from there, and everything fell into place, making this picture. So she also had said you have to be very careful about the types of pesticides or things that they use when they grow it. And that's why a lot of the companies will say they're, all organic and all that sort of thing, because apparently, which makes total sense, that, pesticides, which I'm sure a lot of you probably know, will go into the soil and then come into the plant. The entire point of this is, if you don't get some really clean stuff that is extracted differently and not using these certain types of chemicals and whatnot, you can basically be consuming the chemicals. And when she told me that, it was just like a light bulb. Oh, everything's making sense now. Of course, that would match the same thing that happens if you drink, alcohol and or the other types of medications. Now, the difference is alcohol, of course, you prepare yourself, you're drinking it, or that in my mind. Here, you're expecting a totally different experience, and then something else happens. So, all of that being said, the reason I wanted to do this is I wanted to inform you of, if you're enjoying CBD or whatever, you want to be extremely careful of where you're getting it from, if you are sensitive, psychically sensitive at all. I did a lot of research before this and found a company that we are using. I didn't want to do the podcast because until I could recommend something to you, because I do get a lot of emails and I will get a lot of messages saying, well, hey, do you still take the CBD, and, what do you recommend? So we finally found a company that does not use any of the weird chemicals. I still didn't even want to do it until we started taking it and like checking it and making sure that were we having any, spiritual side effects from it? Were we noticed anything in the physical and the spiritual bodies? How was it processing? This company is totally legit. Everything is really working out well. It's very clean. It's not affecting your spiritual senses at all, or our spiritual senses at all. Again, it's not something that, I take all the time. It's just like a few times a week when I feel like it's necessary. But I have become an affiliate for them. And so I just want you to know that up front, that I will post the affiliate link below, but it's a company that, we're standing behind. And that was a horrible experience. I have to tell you, it was to get this far, and I had no intentions of becoming an affiliate whatsoever for CBD. It was the furthest thing from my mind. But after that super horrible experience, and I thought to myself, there's got to be other people out there that are having this happen that are not understanding what's happening, and so especially if you're psychically sensitive or spiritually sensitive or whatever. That being said, I will post that link below. I do want to get into talking a little bit more about herbs. With all things that you're taking, and herbs, medications, alcohol, whatever, those are the things that you want to watch for. Is you want to watch for feeling, especially if you do it during the day. A lot of times you're going to be noticing those the lower vibration cracks, the ones that you crack open. You're going to notice that during the nighttime mostly, during your dream state, during how you're sleeping, how you're feeling. You might not be feeling all great, so definitely pay attention to how you're feeling, because most people, let's take depression medications and things like that. Again, these are things I don't recommend you go off without talking to your doctor, but maybe you can talk to them about altering different types of, whatever you're taking, because I know that there's an array of stuff and they just try to get you on what they think might be best, but everybody's different, so maybe you can try something else. But when you're feeling numb, when you're feeling disconnected, and when you're feeling all of those things, you're definitely a corridor. You become a beacon for low vibration energies. It just is what it is. And yes, it becomes harder to connect with your spiritual body. So when it becomes harder to connect with your spiritual body, it then essentially becomes harder to connect with your psychic senses and your spiritual senses. So it's going to do a whole array of things. You're going to have a disconnection from the physical, the spiritual. You're going to be a beacon for the lower vibrations. So that to me is not awesome. This is another reason why I'm, working on the Empath University and all the stuff that goes with it, is because there's a whole bunch of stuff that I really can teach you guys on how some physical things affect the spiritual aspect of yourself and your spiritual senses, and in turn then affect your physical health. Another thing that I did a live streaming on when it comes to herbs, so I wanted to point that out as well. A lot of people who I know have tried a lot of different herbal stuff. As you get older, people's hormones begin to change, women and men. That's something, if there's men out there listening, or women with your husbands, men's hormones really, really change when they hit their 40s. And it's something that I think is not talked about enough. Everybody talks about how crazy women get. Men can be greatly affected by a drop in testosterone and some other things that go on in their life. And it's a natural occurrence. It's not like, especially if you have men in your life, or if you are a man and you are active. If you were active, like in sports or in shape or lifting weights or whatever, you were an active person your whole life. A lot of those men feel a very big hormonal drop in their 40s. And women, you may have husbands like that. Regardless, I don't think it's talked about enough. Anyways, ashwagandha was something that we had found that I talked about on a Facebook live streaming, and people were asking me all about it. And there's, again, this is a very good example of my daughter had found it, and we started researching it a lot. And there were some people who were in our family that were having some hormonal imbalances or feeling where they were very stressed, moody, depressed, having really bad anxiety, that sort of thing. And even though we know that they're sensitive, sometimes, just handling the sensitive side of yourself, your spiritual senses, if it's amplified by something going on in the physical body, you need to care both bodies. You need to handle it at both ends. And so the ashwagandha seemed like a very good, alternative to taking some other medications, some prescribed medications. And so some people started taking it, and there was a couple different brands. One person started taking one brand, a few people started taking a whole different brand. And again, the one brand was causing some issues. I assume it has to do with the way it was processed and all of that stuff, because again, it's an herb. It's very similar to CBD and how you extract herbs and, make them in pill form or whatever. There's a whole process that goes along with that none of us have to think about, thank goodness. Well, now we have to think about it, I guess, now that I've brought it to your attention. However, and it's been brought to my attention, some of this stuff you just kind of have to try. It's not like you can tell. So we found one that we really, really like. I don't personally take it, but other people take it or in my life, and it's worked extremely well. And like I said, the other brand did not. So I had people asking me about this as well, and so I'm also going to post a link for that below. Again, it will be an affiliate link, but it's the one that my family uses. So, and it's worked extremely well. So if you're one of those people, and when you are really sensitive, and the more sensitive you are and the more in tune you are with your psychic senses and your spiritual body, the more that you will be kind of repelled from wanting to take medications, like prescribed medications. And that can be a good and a bad thing, because like I've had a surgery where they're like, hey, you need to, you need to take this afterwards. And I'm like, So, and they're like, yeah, but you should have it. And I'm like, yeah, no. And anyways, but I went without it because for me, not that I wouldn't if I needed to use it, but I am just so careful. And I'm so hypersensitive. To even like allergy medication, that's all got to be cut in half. I'm just very hypersensitive with my spiritual and physical body, and therefore I'm very, very protective of what I bring in to my physical and spiritual circle. So I'm just wanting to pass this information along to you. Now, as far as the alcohol stuff goes and things like that, I want to touch upon this because I know I will get questions. One is, do I drink alcohol? Yes, I will on occasion. It's not necessarily my favorite thing to do. I just do it socially or whatever. So, so yes, you can, or I can, but I'm prepared and I know what's going to happen if I do. So it's something that I'm aware of. So as long as you are aware of what type of experiences you might have spiritually, and it's going to last a day or two, or what you're doing to your spiritual and physical body. As long as you're aware of that and you make a choice based on that, you'll be fine, because during that time you'll look to be doing extra clearing, extra protection, things like that. And that is definitely something that you're going to want to do if you're drinking. Now, if people are drinking a lot, that becomes a whole that's a whole nother thing. Because like I said, the lower vibration beacon and all the stuff that goes with it will last 1 to 3 days. 1 to 3 days after you're drinking. So if you're drinking and then drinking again and then drinking again, and even if you're doing it every 2 or 3 days, now you're just definitely making a permanent low vibration beacon, and you're just hitting it constantly. So that's something that if you want to do, I don't judge you, whatever, but you just want to be aware of it. As far as another question I get a lot is people smoking weed, marijuana, whatever. And I know it's legal in a lot of places. I don't tend to notice, and people might think this is weird, but I don't notice people having the low vibration issues with natural things such as smoking actual like herbal weed. In people who I know and whatever, I don't tend to see, because I can feel and sense and see what type of vibration these people are emitting, and I can tell if it's related to some type of substance. I've always been this way ever since I was little. So I have a very, very hard time being around people who are drunk or heavily drinking. My entire being starts to just seize up. Like I get extremely tense because I can feel the low sea of vibration stuff that they've kind of attracted and they're carrying around with them. And it's so uncomfortable for me. Another thing is, again, any type of synthetic, like when I've been around people and I'm old enough that I've been around people taking other types of substances in their life, same thing. It feels weird to me. I don't like the way that they feel. I don't like the way it shifts their vibration, because it shifts your vibration on a very deep level. And I just don't want that vibration around me. Don't like it. However, when I'm around people who are smoking or have been smoking, it's entirely different. It's very strange. They don't have the low vibration thing. And in fact, in some instances, their vibration tends to rise. So there's more of a buffer around them. There's no cracks involved. I'm not feeling the low vibration attracted to them. It's entirely different. So I tend to actually like the vibe of hanging out around people like that. They tend to have a very, like I said, a lot of times their vibration is higher because they just tend to be in a very calm, zen, relaxed place. So I don't see that affecting people. I have, however, when people get into, because I know oils are big, when people start smoking oils, that's another one that I think that you need to be really careful of. I think it has the same thing like with the CBD, with extraction and all of that. And I think that you have to be very careful. Some of the times people feel fine to me. And I've been around other people who have smoked oils or whatever, and I feel very guarded around them. I feel very much like something's not quite right in your vibration, or something's not quite right in the vibration around you. So to me, just to kind of make it easier, the more natural it is, you tend to have a very grounding energy, sometimes a higher vibe energy. You're getting a high vibration from the earth and the earth energy and whatever it is that's very natural. The more that you process things, that's where you're going to want to have your radar up a little bit more and be more cautious. Hence, the way that they process some herbs and different things in pill form. So that's where you're going to want to be more cautious. Doesn't mean it's an issue. It just means that just pay attention. Use your smarts. Use your psychic smarts there. Pay attention to how you're feeling, and pay attention to, and do notice, because they aren't regulated. Here's something that I do notice is every batch can be different. So one, you might be getting some herbal vitamins or something, and you're good. And then the next thing you know, that you're like, wow, this is not so good, or something feels off. If that feels off, assume they've either changed the formula, got a bad batch. For me, I just throw them in the garbage, and then I'm like, okay, well, they've screwed this up, so now I'm going to find another one. So, but I do like herbs. We take a lot of different types of herbs, echinacea, and I don't know if monolaurin's an herb, but I think it is. We do coconut oil. We do a lot of natural things when we're not feeling good, or to keep our immune system up and that sort of thing. So I love that. Just pay attention where you're getting it from. Pay attention, and pay attention if it's working good, then it's not working good. That's the main thing. Then when you get into man-made synthetic stuff, there's your red flags right there. That's when you're wanting to really have your guard up, lots of protection, pay very close attention to how it's affecting your spiritual senses and your physical and your spiritual senses, because most likely it will be affecting both. And that's something that you want to just kind of definitely work with, your doctors or whatever, or if it's recreational, just steer the heck clear of it. It's just not worth it. Especially if you're wanting to advance on a spiritual journey, I just don't see the point. And then when you get into alcohol, which is more acceptable, I guess, recreationally and socially, just use your common sense. Just less is more. Just enjoy yourself, but monitor. Don't go all crazy. Like, do know if you go all crazy, then you're again heading down that path of low vibration. You are now joining hands with the dark side a little bit more, right? If you're just doing it here and there and everything's in moderation, then that's when you will need to pull in more protection. You will just need to. It just is what it is. You are going in it with both eyes open, and do your energetic clearing, do your your saging and that type of stuff, and just know that you will need more protection at that point in time. Doesn't mean not to do it. It just means just do it with care. Just be smart about it. That's what it really means. So hopefully you have found this helpful. Definitely comment below if you have any questions. And I've been trying to stop into YouTube the first 24 hours and make sure that I'm talking back to, if you have questions or comments. I'd love to hear if you found this helpful. I really would. So I hope that you let me know in the comments if you found this helpful, if you've had any other experiences you want to share, or you have any questions. The Empath School, the Empath University is moving along nicely, and so excited still. Is really turning out cool. So I will be posting a link to get on the wait list on that. I will be posting links to the CBD and the Ashwagandha in case you're interested in that. And if you want to get in on the spirit community, definitely, I have trouble with the Keys to the Spirit World sometimes website, but I have been posting the links below on YouTube and iTunes on the spirit community if you're interested in joining us over there. However, you can stop by keystothespiritworld.com, and spirit community links are halfway down the page or up in the right-hand corner. Do not forget to like and subscribe, please, if you want to hear more from me in the future, and hit the notification bell, as always. So until next time, I hope you have the most amazing day. Aloha.